Hey there, sports fans. How are we doing? I'm very well, thank you. I'm here on the 10 Yards Back YouTube channel to eat my humble pie with my round 22 predictions from the Betfred Super League 2025. It was a peculiar round. Let's have a look at the fixtures. It was unique. It was a unique round because it was second in terms of total points difference for the season. However, it was only seventh in terms of points scored, just casually checking my notes there. And 38 tries scored across the weekend only gets us in 12th place. But we had a game where there were no tries scored. So I wonder where we would have been with that points difference, with those tries, with those points scored, if we'd have had all 5 games. Because the reason this round is unique, and it's unique to Super League in general, is that for the first time ever, we had a non-weather or COVID-related game cancellation. Wakefield versus Salford on Sunday was cancelled. And I think you'll agree, if you watch my previous videos, I called it. I called exactly what was going to happen and exactly what's going to happen next week with the fixture against Leigh, Salford versus Leigh on, I think, Thursday night. I think you'll see that I was also right about that one. So these were my predictions on the screen if you're confused about these numbers. So 28-18, 20 points to 26, Wigan versus Hull. Warrington, Hull KR, Leeds, Hull FC, Huddersfield and Wakefield winning. Sorry, Saints beating Huddersfield, winning. And I did okay. I think I got them all. I got all the winners, but not the margins, and definitely, absolutely not the points, the total points. So let's have a look at how I actually did on some of these games. So opening up the weekend, Warrington versus Catalans was actually a decent game. Last week I was kind of clutching at straws a bit as to what I could say about this game. And then when I saw the TV schedule, I saw that it was a game that not even Sky wanted. You know, normally that Thursday night game in the Super League is exclusively on Sky Sports. However, this Thursday night game was on Super League Plus because not even Sky wanted it. But it turned out to be actually a pretty decent game. A game of two halves, as Catalans games tend to be. And unfortunately, that's my prediction. The score ended up being 30 points to 22, I think, in favour of the Warrington Wolves. It was a weird one because at half time, Catalans were up 18-12, or was it 22-12? I can't remember. But anyway, the score at that point wasn't the important bit. The stats were the important bit. So at half time, Catalans had basically 60% possession, about 40% more meters. So I think it was something like 650 meters to like 380 meters or something like that. So Catalans were battering them in the meters game. Warrington just couldn't get into it. However, in the second half, Warrington came out and just said, "Hey lads, should we just keep hold of the ball by any means necessary?" And I think it was about 14 or 16 minutes until Catalans even got the ball back, really. Repeat set, drop out, knock on, okay, drop out, penalty, 6 again. It was just rolling. And it got to 56 minutes, and I thought, God, this is the only time I've ever actually wanted someone to do a short dropout. I just thought, like, man, Catalans, just do something, get the ball back, give yourself a chance here. It was hard. I think for where they are and what they've been doing, both teams played pretty well. I mean, for the lack of possession in the second half and the wealth of possession in the first half, Catalans played pretty well. Particularly, I was impressed with the defence, if I'm honest. That second half, yes, their attack was pretty poor because they just couldn't get the ball. But they didn't get walked over. They actually pulled off some pretty good defensive feats. I think in particular in this game, and this it's going to sound a bit self-congratulatory, this, but something that I've said for a while with Catalans is I simply don't know not who's going to show up, like who's going to do their best and give it their all, like literally who's going to show up to the field that day, like what half-back pair do they have? Who's playing fullback? Who's in the centres or the wing? Who's playing where positionally? It feels like they've tried out a couple of, basically every sort of orientation they can. And in this game, we had Theophage and Keary. What's his name? Luke Keary, yeah. In the halves, 6 and 7. And I think that was the best pairing that they've had potentially all year, even better than when they were on form at the start of the year, because it was very much led by those two players. All the tries came through them, all the players came through them. There was no sort of reliance on a hooker or anything like that. It was just those two making the calls. And, Farge is off next year, but I hear that Lewis Dodd's looking for a new place. So maybe if they just, all right, keep Luke Keary in it. I think he's got another year on his contract, even though I keep saying he needs to go home to save face. If Luke Keary's sticking around, just pair someone with him. Work your team around that and see if you can just get them up the field a little bit more and score some more tries. For Warrington, I thought George Williams was outstanding the other night. Not only running, like he's doing something recently, Williams, where he can just, for some reason, somehow, all of a sudden, it's like he's got like a Super Mario star that he can just press a button and he can just all of a sudden speed up and just nip round the defence and nip his way through. So it wasn't just that, it was his kicking. His kick in particular was the thing that I was really impressed with. Taking it to the line, that short kicking game that Williams is so good at. And I think that this does prove my point. When Mark Sneed signed for Warrington mid-season, whenever that was, round 6 or whatever, I said, be careful, this is going to make them worse. And it did, because all of a sudden they had two kicking options, whereas previously Williams was the clear choice of kicker. And this game, Williams absolutely dominated that kicking game. Sneed kicked all the goals, I think, but took a back step on the actual sort of territorial kicking. And man, it worked really well. Warrington 30, Catalans 22. Good Thursday night game, I thought. A bit of a surprising one. Oh, Friday. I'm going to take a sip of my beer for this one. The Warriors versus the Robins. The Battle of the Brick. This was a good game. We all knew it was going to be a good game. It was less likely than, it was more likely to be a good game than a bad game. It could have, of course, been a poor game, but it wasn't. It was great. It had a real big game feel about it. The players in particular, the crowd was fairly full. It seemed like a good atmosphere in the stadium. But the thing that gave it the big game feel was the players. The players were so invested in this. Every single error was a celebration. Every single error was a team member coming up to another one, the guy who'd knocked on or made the penalty or whatever, and just, don't worry, mate, head in the game, reassuring him, we're going to do it, we're still in there. And I think this is an important game, this. We knew it was an important game for where the league is, and it was the right time to have it as well, because we are 5 weeks. Yeah, we got 5 games left in the season. which means there's still time for some shock and awe on both sides. It's not the league leaders isn't decided yet. Hull KR could fall down the stairs or something. But it was a good time to see where everyone was, wasn't it, and feel it out. Now, personally, I think that if Wigan have got Bevan French at standoff and Adam Kieran at centre, not at standoff, it's a very different game. That being said, Mikey Lewis had a rubbish night, didn't he? He just couldn't quite pull the trigger, Lewis. So, there's still questions. Even though I think that probably if this game was the grand final, and both teams were fit, Wigan take it. The game itself was lovely, and it was a great time to have it. I think the thing I loved about this game, and it's what you love about like the good grand final, like a Wigan Saints grand final or whatever, is that everything that happened was like the grittiest, to the line version of what could happen. So we had props, not just trying to get a repeat set, not just trying to get a quick play of the ball. We had props. Every single drive that a forward took up, they were fighting for centimetres, for inches, for metres. Everything was a struggle. We had wingers not submitting and sort of taking an easy, let's not get put in touch. No, they were getting their head through that tackle and still trying to plough on regardless of where the touchline was. The halves were running right up to the line before they passed the ball on. It was a real just good, gritty competition. And it had its controversies, didn't it? It had its controversial moments, which, all right, I don't really like them, because it has people saying like, oh, well, if Jared Warrior-Hargreaves would have got sent off then we'd have won that game. And all right, whatever, maybe you would have, I don't know. But, Wigan got away with a couple. The Farrell thing, was it a penalty try? I certainly would have give a penalty try for that had I been an RFL registered referee. But they didn't. The ball steal early on in the second half where Hull KR lost their captain's challenge, that was probably a ball steal as well. But then Jez Litton ran field off the ball. It all kind of circles round and comes round full circle, doesn't it? I think, I've already said, like, the good thing about this game is that it's 5 weeks from the end of the season. Nothing's settled yet. There's still questions. If Morg was at full back, if Kieran was at centre, if French was at standoff, it's all to be asked, which I really like. So this was a great game. 6-10, Hull KR took the victory at the Brick Community Stadium, and I think that means that they win the stadium. Not sure, but what a game on a Friday night, a solo Friday night game. Good stuff. Saturday afternoon. Now, I've got an admission to make here. Before I do, I'll take a sip. My admission is that I didn't watch this game. I only watched the highlights. I was away this weekend, so I couldn't. I just haven't had time to watch all the games before putting this out there. There was no point in watching this game. I mean, this was basically a repeat of what happened to Castleford when they played Saints. It was also kind of similar to what happened when Salford played Hull last week, and it was kind of similar to what happened when Huddersfield played Saints this week on Sunday. Castleford made less than half the metres Leeds did. They made about the same amount of tackles, which tells you that Leeds were just scoring points. When a team makes more than twice as many metres as you, but you're doing about the same work rate in terms of tackles and carries and stuff. I mean, not the carries, but it suggests to me that all their tries were made about halfway. And those metres are made by just running a long way, uncontested with the ball. And if you watch the highlights, that's what happened. I mean, what was it? 11 tries. Yep, 11 tries, 10 kicks. yeah, I mean, I said last week when I was kind of making my predictions here that this could be, Cas could pull it out of the bag. It could be their grand final. Nah, I mean, if that's their grand final, then I guess that's the grand final they deserve. Again, everything that's going on in the game, politically, this is the most damaging thing to the game, I think, is just teams just giving up when they've got nothing to play for. I mean, you could at least play for the bottom. I mean, they don't have to play for the bottom, do they? That's the point. Yeah. We got 5 more weeks of this. So, buckle in, gents. Now, the Saturday evening game, on the other hand, the Leigh versus Hull game, the Leopards versus the Ships, the Helibirds. I had this at 24-18. I've got 24-18 as a score there. I don't think that's what it was it? No, it was 18-12, the score. Now, this was a good game because it wasn't non-stop action. You could watch it casually on a Saturday evening. It wasn't non-stop action because there were quite a few errors, particularly in the first half. But it was exciting. I think I'm going to say that Hull dominated this game, despite the scoreline. It's 18-12, whatever. Hull dominated this because there were lots of points, lots of things chalked off. I mean, Leigh got a try chalked off, obstruction. We had a held up. We had Harvey Barron bowled into touch. But it's just an example. 25 minutes in, Hull FC had 6 play the balls in the Leopards 20, but it was 12-0, and they'd made basically twice as many meters as them at that point. So they were really, really just turning the chances over. I don't really know what's going on with Leigh. I don't know what the problem was at the weekend. Something tells me, and I don't know if I've seen it or if I just picked up on it during the game. Is Pape a bit injured? He's not really performing like he would, is he? Because last week there weren't that many sort of runs from dummy half, and this week it just wasn't as fluid, and the defensive line wasn't as set as we've seen or as we've come to expect from the Leopards. Like, at the start of the season, I was doing 6 again videos, and one of them was Leigh's mean defence, because it was and it is. It's a mean team. They will be mean to you in defence, and this was kind of just like I mean, that they had no Caesar either, Hull, so there's not like that's their main general usually on the pitch. And he wasn't even there. So I don't know. I don't know what's happened to Leigh, but I'm really, really liking this whole team. And I think I would love, I don't think it's on the cards. I would love to see another Hull versus Wakefield sort of playoff for the 6, a playoff. I think that would be really good with really, really high stakes. I'd love to see that again, because both teams I just really like watching both teams, and I'd really like them to just have that definitive decision. It's not going to happen, so there's no point in going on about it. I was really impressed this game with Cade Cust. Cade Cust is a player to me who, I don't know, I just never got on the train. In this game, he really, really showed his worth, really, really showed his skill. And him and John Asiata were just massively the driving force behind this team. And, maybe that's a recipe moving forwards. Maybe it's a bit late in the season to be sort of changing the whole tactic, especially if Caesar's on the pitch. But, those two sort of playing Cust playing 6, Caesar playing 7, a classic 7 with John Asiata almost playing what would be, of maybe 5-6 years ago, the hooker role. Not the dummy half stuff, but, the ball playing forward kind of thing. I think that could be real trouble. But very, very impressed with Hull. This was a great game. Martin Lewis, the try scoring expert. Great try at the end. You just can't beat the kid, can you? He's just really, really showing up and doing amazing stuff every week. Leigh will be back I mean, they play Salford this week, and they will play Salford. I'll get into that in a second. Leigh will be back probably just in time to embarrass Saints when they travel to the Leigh Sports Village in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks' time. Okay. The rearranged Sunday afternoon games. This was rearranged, I think, because of BBC coverage, and they wanted to have it was inclusion round, so they wanted to have the women's and I think the PDRL matches before it. It was quite a good day. I ended up going to the match myself with the family. I was sat behind the sticks. So if you know Saints' ground, you can stand behind the sticks and be in a pretty good position. I was sat behind the sticks, which means I was like right in the corner. I think my seat number was like 7 or something like that. So I was pretty poor view, but it was it was good. You got to see everything, didn't you? Both halves, you got to see a couple of Saints tries, which was good. 52-4. My prediction was 28-8. I had a bit of belief in Huddersfield that they'd put up a show, and they just didn't. Look at the meters. Saints made 1,600 meters, which is up there. That's a lot of meters. People don't usually make that amount of meters, even in an exceptional performance. And the reason for that, the same with the Leeds game, is that a lot of their tries were just runaway tries, uncontested tries. Owen Dagnall, God, he had some cracking runs with the ball. One in particular was probably, it looked like it wasn't going over. I can't remember. It was his first try, I think. He basically got the ball on halfway and decided, fuck it, I'm scoring this. So I don't care. Get in my way if you want to. I'm just gonna run around you. And it was really entertaining, but it looked like it wasn't going to get given. And I just thought, man, if he isn't awarded this try, he is going to be in trouble, because there were plenty of opportunities to offload, plenty of opportunities to just get rid of that ball and make sure that try gets scored. So be careful there, Owen. But at the minute, God, it's exciting. Sale is back, as in back on form. Wellesby's back in the comp. I think Saints are back. I think that Saints are going to probably end up in second place, and I could probably do a video to explain why at some point if I get the time. But I think Saints are good, and everyone should be pleased about that. The reason you should be pleased about it is because coming up in the next couple of weeks, Saints have got Wigan, Hull KR, Leigh, and Hull FC this week. That's a good mix of the top 6 to have a team playing all those that's on form, and it's also, let's be honest, a bit of a question mark. That means that we've got at least one exciting game in 4 of those weeks. It also gives us the opportunity to mix up that top 6. We could do it, couldn't we? We could end up with a weird kind of season ender. I don't think Hull KR are getting knocked off, but I do think Saints are going to end up second, and I'll stand by that. 52-4, Huddersfield thrashed at Saints on Sunday. Now, a little sip. Another team that was beaten on Sunday, not by their opposition, but by their owners, was the Salford Red Devils. I sort of put my tinfoil hat on a little bit during my predictions of this one, because I don't think it can happen every week. I think the teams have to draw a line, but it's pretty clear what's happened there now. The teams are going to try to not let them play at home, but still support those away matches. The match against Leigh, Salford have all of a sudden found 4 players from somewhere. Wakefield, interestingly, and somewhere else. I can't think where. And that is, it's the way I knew it was going to go. the teams have got together and said, right, okay, we'll late on enough in the season now. We know what's going to happen. We're not ruining anything by making a stand here. We're just going to not let them play at home. We're not going to give them the revenue on this to punish them. And I think it's good. I do feel for Wakefield. Wakefield could have gone there on Sunday and, put 100 points on them, the way that Wakefield play and can play. They didn't. I think in the end they'll probably end up with a 48-0, which is not nothing. But if they'd have had the crack, would they have, could they have broken that record? That I think the record Wakefield Salford points difference is like 74 points or something. Could they have broken that? Could they have broken the all-time record of 82 that Saints got at the start of the season, or Saints equalled at the start of the season? I don't know. Look, it's sad. I've just seen that Joe Shorrocks has gone to Leeds on loan to the end of this season, so he'll be back next season, but not this one. What do you do with this? I think, fair enough. Feel sorry for the fans. The fans seem to be protesting and sticking by the club. Good on you. Absolutely good on you. I'm not sure how I'd react if this was my club, but it's very sad and very predictable. It's going to be very interesting to see how many more Salford games there are and how many more of those are home games. I bet 0. All right. So these were the results. Finally, the results. 30-22 Warrington versus Catalans. 10-6 Hull KR Wigan. 64-6 Leeds battering Castleford. Hull FC taking Leigh to the sword. Saints demolishing Huddersfield. And I've put 48-0 there down for Wakefield Salford because I think that's the precedent. I don't know, I heard that somewhere on a podcast, on the Wakefield Trinity Heritage podcast. Check it out. That's it. What does it do to the table this week? Something quite interesting, I think. That one, I've been talking all season about that 1 point and saying, 1 point doesn't matter because it's 1 point, is a point, isn't it? So any points difference in a 2-point league is a win. But if Leigh had won that game against Hull FC and hadn't have had 29 points, have had 30 points, I think they'd still be in 4th and not now 5th. I'm just talking out of my arse there. I don't know if that's the case. But it's interesting. I think Wakefield are going to be pretty furious that they didn't get that Salford chance. I've already gone over that. And the bottom of the table is just kind of languishing, isn't it? I don't think Warrington can do it. But they can still give us entertaining games, for sure, and good on them. That's what they should do. Because most of those Warrington players are going to be back next season in a primrose and... Is it primrose and blue or yellow and blue? I can't remember. In a Warrington shirt, anyway. So they should go out with their heads held high and try to just cause a bit of shit at the top of the table, shouldn't they? Try and cause an upset. George Williams has tried to move on. I don't know what he's doing, but nevertheless, come on. King George and Warrington, do some stuff. Now that I know that they're not playing Saints ever again. All right. Point scorers and try scorers. I'm getting a bit... I'm not too confident in my data on this anymore. But it looks good, doesn't it? Kyle Felt is slowly moving up the rankings there because he's not only scoring tries for fun, but he's also Saints' preferred kicker by the looks of it now. Scored quite a few niceys at the weekend. George Flanagan, Mark Sneed, Lewis Martin, the try-scoring expert, creeping in there at number 10 because, again, take the numbers with a pinch of salt, but he is now the number 1 try-scorer of the league, baby. Lewis Martin, the try-scoring expert, you really can't argue with this kid. The try that he scored at the weekend for Hull, all right, it was a bit cheeky, wasn't it? It wasn't like... It wasn't the most skillful try in the world, but the fact is that he was there, ready to score the try. And really, that's what you want from a winger. Like, skill is one thing, but just simply showing up and trying to get the try, how can you argue with that? He got there, he did it. He's top of the tree now on the try scorers. So, let's call it a day there, ladies and gents. We got round 23 coming up. I'll be back on probably Thursday morning with my predictions. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, however you want to interact with this media, this content, please do, because if you comment, it makes it more visible somehow. I don't know. I'm also putting stuff out on X as well, so yeah, give us a shout on X, will you? Give us a follow. Go on. Have a good week, guys.